Dependency injection is one of the most complicated topics for Angular developers. But at the same time, it provides the knowledge how to create a highly flexible solution. What is dependency injection? How to inject dependencies in Angular? How to provide configurations for dependency injection? Solutioning in both old and new Angular versions. How to mock dependencies in Angular tests. Many other useful topics that I will explain to you in this playlist. My name is Maksym Hrom. This channel is about web development. Let's analyze the UML to understand what dependency injection is. Imagine you are developing a class for your client's codebase. It has a dependency, so you need to create the dependency somehow. In the past, developers would create a new instance of dependency by calling the new operator. That approach was inefficient, so developers introduced various patterns to encapsulate object creation. However, these patterns are beyond the scope of this video. We focus on the inversion of control container pattern, also known as the injector in Angular. Instead of creating a new object, Angular proposes injecting it via an injector. There are several ways to do this, which we will explore in the next videos. An injector doesn't know anything about a dependency until we configure it. To enable an injector to recognize a dependency, we must provide configuration. This is a major topic that we will discuss in the upcoming lessons. Once configured, the client class does not need to handle dependency creation. It simply requests the dependency and focuses on business logic. Moreover, DI is an implementation of the dependency inversion principle, which is one of the solid principles. If you understand dependency injection, you will be able to explain the dependency inversion principle in the job interviews. Why is it important? Dependency injection allows you to create highly flexible solutions. You can build flexible libraries that are easy to extend. Your code remains focused on business logic, while Angular handles instance creations. If you have ever created an object with 10 plus dependencies, you will easily understand why dependency injection is such an important part of the framework. In this course, I will cover both module-based and standalone component approaches. It's essential to learn both because many projects are migrating to standalone components right now. How you can inject dependencies in Angular? I am going to show you two basic examples. First one is using the inject function. Second one is using a constructor function of a class. Inject function is a function from Angular core package. It's easy to use. Just declare a property in your class. In my case, it is app component. And you can call inject function and put the type into it to inject instance of the type. You can see on slide that I inject foo service into the foo service private property. And I am using the service to extract the title property at the same class. This approach is recommended since Angular 16, and Angular introduced migration guide from constructor to inject function. The benefit: it can be used in new function guard, functional interceptors, or factories. Also, it allows to extend parent class without breaking changes to its children. Of course, it has limitations. It should be used in constructor context, like constructor or property of class or specific place for Angular framework, like guard or interceptor. With inject function, order of injecting and usage is important. I would recommend having all injections at very top of the class declarations, so you have everything injected before use it. Another way to inject dependencies is injecting via constructor functions. TypeScript stores types of the constructor properties, so Angular has these metadata, and Angular can match injections respectively. You only need to ask for instance in Constructor, and magic will happen. It's so easy almost for all cases. We will check more complex cases in next videos. This approach is not recommended anymore since Angular 16. It's good to migrate to inject function. Of course, it has benefits, like it's the most traditional way for backend frameworks to inject dependencies. Also, all injections in one place. But it cannot be used for functional elements which Angular introduced because functions does not have a constructor. Also, parent class with constructor cannot be extended without breaking backward compatibilities with its children. I believe that Angular team wants to introduce more functional features in the future. So I am happy that we have only one recommended way to inject dependencies and not going to maintain both for ages. Now I am going to demo how to inject dependencies in Angular. I have installed a brand new Angular application. For this lesson I need a service. Let's create it manually. Also, I want to assign a string property for the title. We cannot use service like this, we should use decorator before the class declaration. Decorator is injectable from Angular core. Also, for this example, I added provide in root as a configuration of the decorator. This means that when the file is imported, Angular automatically provides the service at the root level. For now, just remember that this is one way to configure dependency injection. I will explain it in more details in the next videos. Next step, injecting the service. According to the UML, we have taught the injector that title service exists in the system. You see this provide. Now we need to inject it. So let's inject title service into app component. I made a mistake. Services should be inside app folder. Okay, I would like to move it. Nice. And now I'm opening app component TS file. And to inject the service, we need the inject function from Angular core. You see, we have this inject function, Angular core. The parameter of this function is the name of the service class. In our case, it's title service. Once injected, we can use the instance of title service. Now let's retrieve the title property from title service and use it as a page title. You see, now the app component is no longer responsible for maintaining the title. Instead, it delegates this responsibility to the service. At the same time, an app component doesn't care how title service was created. Everything works fine with our changes. To be fair, let's check how Constructor Injector works on a real application. What I have done, I added constructor function. And first property is title service, which is public property of this class. And type is title service. And in constructor, I assigned title property to this title. I should be able to do something like this, but I guess it's related to some new TypeScript configuration in new version of Angular. So let's check. And you see it works the same way. Of course, this example is simplified and does not fully explain how dependency injection works. I will guide you step by step through DI possibilities, making it comfortable for both beginners and experienced developer. In the next lesson, we will explore how to provide services at the root level for both old and new Angular applications. Let's summarize this lesson. Angular has a system of injectors. We must configure the injector, so we must provide configuration for the injectors. Once configured, we can inject dependencies. Injection is recommended through the inject function. Dependency injection is an implementation of dependency inversion principle, which is a hallmark of a high-quality Angular framework. I hope you have decided to join me on this journey. I will do my best to make this learning experience smooth and informative. See you next time. Bye bye.